All right, here we go. So five, four, three, two, and one. All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. Very excited to have back favorite guest of the show, Adena Bank Lees. Adena, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Guy. I'm
You
excited to
are
be talking
welcome.
with you today.
Awesome. Adena is a licensed clinical social worker, licensed addiction counselor, board certified expert in traumatic stress, and certified practitioner of psychodrama with more than 35 years of experience. A recognized authority on childhood trauma, Adena specializes in covert emotional incest, a form of hidden abuse she also knows personally as a thriver with a lived history of childhood sexual abuse and covert emotional incest. Adena is the author of Covert Emotional Incest, The Hidden Sexual Abuse, A Story of Hope and Healing, recently updated and revised, which includes over 100 pages of new content for clinicians featuring case vignettes, ethical treatment examples, and consultation guidelines. When she's not in the therapy room or training room, you'll find her laughing with loved ones, singing at the top of her lungs in the car,
Yes.
or soaking up time in there. All right, let's go. Let's hear some of the singing. I was like reading this, I'm like, I want to hear some singing.
Only in the
Maybe
car.
we'll, maybe we'll have you close us out with a little tune we can
Okay.
fade out. So Adena, I love having you on this podcast. And I think our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with you will certainly understand why I love having you on this podcast as we get into this.
Okay.
But all right, let's start out here. For those maybe who aren't familiar, where are you from originally and where are you currently?
So I'm originally from Long Island, New York, and everybody knows that as soon as they hear me speak, even though I've been in Tucson, Arizona for 36 years.
Wow.
They'll get, are you from New York? You from Long Island? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can take the girl out of Long Island, but you can't take the Long Island out of the girl. So that's really, and I
Yeah.
just got back from a trip to New York City. So my accent is definitely heavier. When I
Oh
go
wow.
back there, I
Okay.
just kind of fall into it again. So yeah, we had a
Yeah.
great, amazing. I took two colleagues of mine that have never been, and to see New York City through the eyes of newcomers and people who've never really even seen a big city before, incredible, just incredible. So
Yeah.
that's all right. So I'm in Tucson, Arizona for 36 years, originally from Long Island, New York.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about your book, which is updated again, Covert Emotional Incest, The
Right.
Hidden Sexual Abuse, Story of Hope and Healing. Um, Covert emotional abuse. What is it?
Okay. So it's really important to know that it is something that covert means that it is subtle, that it is not physical contact. So there's no physical genital contact. Some people call it non contact sexual abuse. Maybe that's clearer for people. Non contact sexual abuse.
Non-contact
Okay.
sexual abuse.
Yes. So covert emotional incest is when a child is made a substitute or surrogate spouse for one or both of their caregivers. And notice I don't say parents because they're adult caregivers, okay, whoever that is,
Right.
and or a confidant for one or both of their caregivers. So they are hearing and experiencing material that is overwhelming for a child, that is not appropriate for a child. For example, a mother figure can be confiding in a daughter or son about the marital problems. And this happens because of something called triangulation, which is a family therapy term. And that means that the caregivers who are supposed to be in a unified executive committee, whether it's two or four, whatever, but everybody's supposed to be on the same page, agree how to parent, agree what the boundaries are, etc. And when triangulation happens, what it means is that the caregivers lack the skills that they need to deal directly with each other in the relationship and or go outside and get professional help or peer support. So they use and lean on one or more of their children to get those needs met. And the intergenerational boundary, another family therapy term, which is supposed to be in place between the adult caregivers and the children. The intergenerational boundary says things like the adults make the important decisions, where we live, how we pay bills, etc. Kids do not do that. Kids may have a voice because we have family meetings. In a healthy family, we have family meetings. Kids have a voice, but they don't make those decisions. The parents
Right.
make those decisions. Bedtime, you go to school, you don't go to school, etc. But where there's a system of triangulation, oftentimes the child will jump up the intergenerational boundary and be in a peer role to one or both of those caregivers, or more than those caregivers. And the child has a lot more power than they should. It feels really good. I'm special. I'm powerful. Look at how they listen to me, and I make the decisions, and I take care of the other kids, and I do this. And somebody yesterday, guy I was working with, called himself the emotional container for his mother, and I thought that was brilliant.
Oh.
The emotional
So
container. Yeah.
I hear the emotional abuse part, but where's the sexual abuse part?
Okay. So great question. The sexual abuse part comes where the spousal role is a sexual role, whether there's physical sex happening or not. So there's sexual energy in that role, and romantic needs are usually communicated not directly, but indirectly, or they're inferred by what's being said, how it's being said, tone of voice. I've had many clients whose mom and or dad would be in bed with them instead of their spouse, sharing this kind of information, giving back rubs, etc., asking for those. And so there's a lot of very confusing messages and sexual energy that's getting transferred between the adult and the child. And it's overwhelming. And I will share from my own story. I grew up, and until I had the words for this, I just knew it felt yucky. That's all I could say. I just
Mm-hmm.
feel yucky inside. I don't know what it is. And when I was about 14, I thought, holy mackerel, I feel like I'm having an affair with my dad.
Mm.
I didn't tell anybody, never said anything until I was 26, which is in the book, when I got the name Covert Incest. It's like, that's how I felt. I love my dad to pieces. And there was a cringe, there was an ick factor. We would be sitting at a restaurant, and people would come up to us as we went out a lot to the diner or whatever on Long Island, and we would chat, talk, and people would say, "Oh, is this your wife?" And we would laugh. We thought that was so funny. Like, I was 17 or 18 at that time. I always looked older than my age. And we laughed and thought it was funny, but it's not funny. People pick up on that energy that's unspoken.
In the book, you talk about the difficulty survivors have of trying to figure out like what happened because nothing like quote unquote overt or obvious happened. Talk more about that.
So I'm working with many people right now. Right now, I am the psychodrama department at a residential treatment program here in Tucson, where people come to stay for 30 to 60, 90 days because they are not able to function in their life at this time. So they need inpatient treatment. And because I'm a certified psychodramatist, that's what I'm offering to people. And probably about 8 or 9 people right now are dealing with exactly what you're asking me. And they said, I feel crazy. My nervous system is so dysregulated. I can't think. I can't function. Um, I'm shaking like crazy. I went to all kinds of doctors. It feels like I have seizures, and everything is normal. And we know today, is that this is all nervous system overwhelm. So she's totally outside of her window of tolerance. I hope people know that term from Dan Siegel. And the nervous system is shaking. The nervous system's overwhelmed. So, for an example, when she was sharing a little bit in group the other day, I said, I see your leg going. What does your leg need to do or need to say? She said, run.
Mm.
I said, makes total sense, because given what you just shared of what happened to you at 8, that she was responsible for 7 siblings, she told mom to go out because she knew mom was stressed and she would take care of everything because she was mom's emotional container also. She could never run from that situation. So her flight response got locked in her body. And there's so much movement that has not been able to be completed. So we're talking about some of Peter Levine's work right now, okay? or sensory motor psychotherapy work. I know you've interviewed all these people. So I said to her, I want you to pick somebody to play your 8-year-old. That's a psychodrama. Pick a role. Somebody played her 8-year-old child. She took her by the hand and she ran. We went outside and she ran. And she ran until her body felt calmer. She said, whoa, this is unbelievable. So when people don't know, their body is telling them, and this is from Bessel van der Kolk, your body's going to tell you what's going on. So they're confused. I thought we were just close. People say, I was just close. My mother was my person. I heard that yesterday. And I was her person. And now that she's dead, I'm totally alone. And I don't have anybody.
And my guess is when you're younger, you only know your environment.
Correct?
You don't know what's going on in other kids' homes. You expect, oh, this is normal. It's
Correct.
got to be normal.
Correct. Until you start going to other homes and then you start
Right.
seeing things. But no, of course, you think this is just the way everybody is. And you think that this is the way everybody feels. This is the way everybody sees through their eyes. That's why kids don't know they need glasses. They just think that's the way it is. They don't
So
know.
what does this do then as obviously it's different for everybody, but as kids get older, how are they functioning as a result of this? What might this look like?
Oftentimes, it looks like perfectionism. It looks like overachieving. It looks like the kid you don't have to worry about because they can take care of everything because they do. And
Right.
they're wanting to please. People pleasing is like the number one sign and symptom. Excuse me. So fawning is what the term now is. People pleasing, mediating, caretaking, doing for others what they can do for themselves, anticipating people's needs, being able to read facial expressions. And we know this about trauma survivors. We know that we are oriented to facial expression.
Right.
And we have to be for our safety. The infant does that. And so these people are hyper vigilant about that and know how to be a chameleon to meet your needs and be what you want. And they're not the people who usually come in for help. They're usually the heroes of the family. So they come in, like one person said to me, it worked until I totally collapsed. And then people knew I needed help.
There's the intergenerational piece, which
Yeah.
is pronounced in the book. How does this get passed down? And is this something that typically, normally, usually does get passed down?
Yes. Yes, it does. And what we know is that the way people are raised, they'll take some of that, or they'll say, I don't want to raise my kid like that at all. And I'm going to do the total opposite. And so in the addiction field, what we say is the opposite of sick is sick. So we need to
Mm.
find something in the middle. How many adult
Well,
children have I worked with that said, I'm never going to be an alcoholic? I'm never going
right.
to do this with my kids. And so they went totally to the opposite. I'm not going to share anything with my kids because I don't want to perpetrate this on them. And that's what I experienced. And I heard that yesterday, Guy, from somebody. I'm afraid to have children because I don't want to perpetrate this on my kids. And what I ended up doing was I tried to be the perfect mom. And my anxiety was so high. And I think my kid picked up on some of that.
Mm.
So it was, how can I be a good enough mom? What does that mean? What does that look like? And then I was challenged when my son Ian was in his 20s. He's now 30 something. And I wanted to have more of a reciprocal relationship with him. I wanted to transfer it. He's more of an adult now. And I wanted him to know his mom as a human without him being an emotional container for me. I didn't know how to do that because it wasn't modeled for me. So
Right.
in my own therapy, I talked with my therapist, and some of that's in the book about, how can I talk to Ian about this? And it was just to say to him, Ian, I want you to know me more as a person. I want more reciprocity here. What do you think of that? Are you open to that? He said, well, of course, Mom. I didn't know you were interested in that. Like, he's because he was raised by myself and my wife, and two therapists who process everything. And so, he's pretty emotionally intelligent. But that's how that, so yes, it gets passed down because I don't have the tools to do it different. And it stops when
Hmm.
I ask for help. And that's the biggest thing, Guy, that I say if anybody gets anything, it's okay to ask for help. It's a strength, not a weakness. You're not alone. Ask for the help, get the suggestions, try things out. Good enough, dare to be
Hmm.
adequate is what psychodrama has
Yes.
taught me. That is our motto, dare to be adequate. I said that to somebody recently. They go, what does that mean? I said, I know, I didn't know what it meant either. I'm the person who got a 93 and had to take the test again because I had to get a higher grade. That's how this shows up. That's how this is passed down.
My guess is people listening to this might be doing kind of their own inventory. You know,
I hope so.
what do you ask yourself? What does one ask themselves? Did this happen to me? I don't know.
Well, there is now, and we can put this on a link if you want, because I was given permission to do this. There is now the covert emotional, I think it's the CIIS or the CIS, covert emotional incest survey, I think it's called,
Okay.
or scale, and it was developed by somebody in Turkey, and it's peer reviewed, and I have a copy of it, so I'll give it to you, and people can download that, and that's questions to ask. They're really good questions to ask yourself, and they're also for therapists who are interviewing clients. Use it to be able to jog your own curiosity and start to ask questions. I don't recommend you just handing something to a client. And the reason for that is it's so critically important to develop rapport as you are asking questions. So many clients came to
Hmm.
me after going to therapists who handed them an 8-page intake form, and they said, "Dina, I couldn't fill it out. I couldn't share my story with somebody I didn't know in that paper. I was so overwhelmed sitting in the office. They wanted my trauma history. I can't do that." So, if you're working with insurance, you're getting 3 to 4 sessions now before you have to have a treatment plan. And that's really appropriate. You shouldn't have to have a treatment plan in the first session. You want to be talking with someone and developing that and asking them those questions in a more conversational style like we're doing to be able to develop the safety so that they can say things to you that are really difficult. So we can definitely offer that. And I would ask myself, did I feel responsible for any of my caregivers' feelings?
Mm.
Was I the one to take care of them? Did I feel that cringe factor? Was I hugged a little too tight or too long and it felt icky and I couldn't say anything? Or when I did, and I have permission to say this from my dad who's passed, um, and it's in the book. When I was 15, I had friends over, and in my house, we had a small home. Walking from his bedroom to the kitchen, you had to pass the living room. And I had friends in the living room. And as a teenager, you think your parents are nothing anyway, and you're so embarrassed by anything they do. So my father walks through in his underwear because that's how he walked around the house, always. And I was terribly embarrassed. And I said so after. I said, "Dad, if I have friends over, can you please put shorts on?" And he said to me, "That's your fucking problem." What am I supposed to do with that? Right? So, our home is open and free sexually and all that kind of stuff because that's what my parents thought was healthy. What he wasn't able to do was hear that I was uncomfortable and I needed some
Hmm.
boundaries around that. Later on, when I was in treatment and shared that with him, he got it. And he always put shorts on from then on when I was 29. After that, I said, "I won't come over unless you have your shorts on." So, yeah, I don't even remember where we were now since I just told that story. Sorry, I went somewhere.
No, that's perfectly fine. Are we talking about the childhood emotional incest scale? The
Yes,
CEI? Okay. Okay. I have that here.
thank you.
The difference between an enmeshment and healthy boundaries seems to me like could often get blurred with people. How does one differentiate?
Okay, so
Is it that ick factor?
I think the ick factor is definitely there. Cringe factor's there. It's also so a couple of examples I'm thinking of. One is enmeshment is if there's an adult couple and let's say the wife says, "Oh my God, my husband's mother, she's in the middle of our relationship. I feel like there's three people here." I've heard that many times. And I've heard the vice versa. I've heard the husband say that about, the wife is so committed to her and so close to her mother or her father. That's enmeshment. That's ongoing CEI and enmeshment. And they're both, I mean, pretty much the same. So healthy boundaries means closeness. Good neighbors, right? Good fences make good neighbors. Boundaries mean I have a sense of self and I respect your sense of self. I am not an extension of you. And that's enmeshment is I can't tell the difference between me and you. So in the last many years, it has been cool to say for moms of their teenage daughters, I'm her best friend and we dress alike and we go to parties and, all that stuff. And I'm thinking, no, no.
Right.
Now, best friend in terms of my daughter trusts me, and I can say my son trusts me with stuff that he doesn't trust other people with. And I have a very special relationship with him in that way. He can tell me anything. And that's really cool. And I love that. And there are things he
Yep.
won't tell me. He's not going to tell me about his sexual relationship. He needs to go elsewhere with that. He's not going to tell his mom about that. A daughter might tell their mom about that. That's okay. That doesn't mean there's no boundaries. If I'm asking and I'm saying, asking for or telling an adult woman, here I am, a young woman, and I'm saying to an adult woman, this is what's happening. What's your experience, mom? Can you help teach me? That's not
Hmm.
enmeshment. That's appropriate. I always felt better going to a professional because
Hmm.
of the enmeshment with my mom. My mom wanted to know every detail from when I was first
Right.
dating. That's the ick factor. That's the
Right.
mom, this is mine. Like, no, I'm not going to tell you how he kisses, and I'm not going to tell you if he's good. And one of the things that was really, again, enmeshment. So when I fell in love with my wife, that was really hard for my family. And I'm not saying that any kind of sexual orientation stuff is caused by CEI. No, this is just my story. This is just who I am. So I was married to a man, divorced, fell in love with a woman. And my mom said to me, it's so interesting. I can't stop thinking about you having sex with her. And I immediately said, Mom, that's so interesting that you would be obsessed with my sex life. That's enmeshment. My mother
Right.
really had trouble separating me from her. And I had trouble separating me from her a lot of my life. And when she was dying, she died 2 years ago, I had set a boundary with her that I was not able to share about my relationship with my wife. I was not able to share real intimate details about my life anymore because she couldn't hear me or see me. She was so in it
Hmm.
that it wasn't helpful and it was hurtful to me. And she just didn't understand that, unfortunately. And that's just, that was just unfortunately, one of her deficits, one of her blocks, whatever. Am I answering your question?
Yeah. I mean, this is just so involved and intricate, and I'm just thinking about the kind of psychological paradigm a young kid grows up with all
Confusion.
of these shame and oh my gosh.
Shame is at the core, absolutely. I can never do it good enough because I can never fix my parents. I could never be good enough to fix them and make them happy. So there's two sides of the coin. So a dear friend of mine said, Dina, the bigger the front, the bigger the back. So the front of CEI is I'm powerful. They listen to me. I'm the great listener. I have great, I'm older than my age. I have great feedback. I have good suggestions. I'm special. I'm the special one. That's all the good stuff. And that's a big hook, huge hook.
Hmm.
The back is powerlessness, helplessness, unmanageability, confusion, shame. I'm never going to be good enough because shame fuels perfectionism. We know that. I'm never going to be good enough. I can't do it right. And so people are always so hard on themselves. That's the perfectionist. And I'm totally powerless here. I'm helpless. I can't do anything. And it shows up in relationships of all forms, Guy. People, there are some people who will be sexually anorexic and not enter into romantic relationships because any kind of intimacy feels like engulfment, feels like smothering, feels like they're being taken over, swallowed up,
Wow.
because that's what's happened. So they just go, the opposite of sick is sick. Or they're so people pleasing and that they're getting involved with people who take advantage of them and abuse them, and they're going to be doormats and they're going to do anything they can, sexually, non sexually, to please people. And all I'm worth, this is what I grew up with, and I'm an object. My body's not mine. It's there for other people to use until I learned differently. And now my body's not something for other people to use. But I allowed that for a long time because that was my psychological frame. Yeah.
What do clinicians need to look for?
So
Or not? I don't. That's a sticky question. What?
I'll be very direct. I'm going to answer your
Yeah.
question before you even ask it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is why I added the 100 pages. So it's critically important that you are in your own therapy. That's it. Number one, you are experiencing being in the client role. Number one, you have no business being in the therapist chair if you've never experienced the client role. You cannot have any empathy for a client. You don't know what it's like to make the first call. You don't know what it's like to sit in the waiting room. You don't know what it's like to fill out an intake form and tell your deepest, darkest to somebody you don't know, and to try and develop a trust there. Really scares me when people say, I don't need therapy.
Right.
If you're in this field, you need to be in the client role. It's important for that reason, as well as for all, if you're going to be working with trauma, the secondary PTSD we experience, the compassion fatigue we experience, we have to have that support of what is it bringing up in us. So if we go to IFS, we go to Richard Schwartz, we go to what parts of us are getting triggered as they're working with these clients. And if we're not in our own support, consultation, supervision, and therapy, if I'm not doing those and I'm working with traumatized people, I am so at risk for reenacting the dynamics that hurt them in the first place. So for somebody with CEI, they're going to want to please you. They're going to be the greatest client. They're going to do everything. It's going to be on time. They're going to, all of that. And you're going to think, oh, fantastic, and you're going to give them extra, or you're going to get you're going to have less boundaries with them, or they need you to be the healthy, boundaried parent.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to judge them if they don't do something. It's like, I've given assignments. I want you to not do this. I want you to do this adequately. I don't want it perfect. I want you to come in wearing mismatched clothes tomorrow. I don't want to see you with makeup on. Those are the kinds of interventions that have to be done to shake it up so that
Wow.
people know I'm okay for who I am. I don't have to perform for you. There's no performing. And that's what people grow up with CEI. They're performers and they're good. They get Academy Awards. So your own therapy, consultation. If you are not comfortable talking about sexual topics, use the word sex, the word incest. If you're not comfortable about talking about those things, this is not a population to be working with. You have to be matter of fact. I can just talk about these things. You have to be able to say the hard stuff. So those are some of the warnings and things that I have in the book, because too many people miss this. They don't ask the right questions. They're not even aware that it exists. So how could they ask the right questions? So my goal is, let's get it out there that this thing exists. It's real. It's damaging. It's really messing people up. And they're coming into inpatient. I'm also doing Survivors of Incest Anonymous, which is a 12-step self-help program, has a workshop on a phone meeting, and they're reading my book. And I've been going and reading parts of my book and answering questions for people.
Oh,
And what
wow.
I'm hearing from them is similar to what we're talking about, that people, the confusion about sex, what is sex, what is intimacy, what is closeness, how do I regulate my nervous system? They're consistently activated, anxious, or depressed. They are not inside that window of tolerance at all, because
Hmm.
nobody was a regulated nervous system for them, Guy, when they were growing up. They had to do it for somebody else. And we know that as kids, as infants, we need the adults to be that regulated nervous system so that our nervous systems can learn how to do it for themselves. So that was a long-winded answer. I'm very
Man.
passionate about this.
Yeah. Man. So uh, the book was recently updated, 100 pages.
Yep.
What was important for you to get in there to update?
Just what we just talked about ethical, effective and ethical strategies, modalities. I wanted in there that experiential modalities are the modalities of choice for trauma in general, but for
IFS.
IFS, psychodrama, sensory
Okay.
motor, EMDR, like not sitting and just talking. Now, people have to tell their story. That's why I'm saying 3, 4 sessions, like I need to develop the rapport.
Right.
And one of the pieces that I've seen and that I'm trying to teach the therapists where I work now is what's called the double role in psychodrama. So instead of sitting across from someone and saying, what I heard you say is, when we do reflective listening, instead of that, what I say to the client is, may I sit next to you? Is that okay? Yes, of course, I'm always asking for permission, right? Voice and choice. May I say something that I sense is in your heart? I'd like to be in the role of your heart for a moment. May I say something from that role, and you check in with your heart and your gut and you see if it's accurate. And if it is, or any of it is, you say it out loud so your body can hear it. And if it's not, we just throw it away. Fine. And what I hear is, how did you know that? How did you know I was feeling that? And I said, it's called empathy. And I've been doing this 40 years, so I have a skill. Right? Because people think I do magic. That's it. They say, you're the magician, you're the wizard. No, it's empathy. And it's me doing my own work.
Right.
And so the double role is so powerful when you sit next to someone and you're saying it as them, you're doing right brain to right brain communication that Janina Fisher talks about also. And they're getting mirrored in a way that they never have before. It is so
Wow.
cool. It is so amazing. And it's not, you don't have to go to 680 psychodrama training hours to learn how to do that. You already know that because you know how to reflectively listen. You're feeling what they're feeling. You just say it in a different way and it impacts
Wow.
them. It lands in a
Right.
different way. Yeah. So that they can hold it and they can take it with them. Hmm.
Very interesting what you just said. I mean, so simple, seemingly simple. You didn't stay across from them. You moved beside them. You didn't say, "I'm going to say something." You said, "I'm going to speak." Can I? Can, is it? And you asked permission. Can I say something that I think? Can I speak from your heart?
That's right.
Your heart.
That's right.
It wasn't just like
No,
I'm sensing something in the ethers. Can I say it?
no, no.
Yeah. Wow.
And I got that from psychodrama, and then what got reinforced for me is I've been doing a lot of grief work in the last couple of years since my mom passed, and Francis Weller has been. If anybody knows about him, it might be great to have him on your podcast. He has taught me so much about soul, that this is grief is soul work.
Mm.
I'm ready personally. I was ready for. I've done everything else. I was ready for the depth of the work that he talks about. And
Mm.
that's what people are resonating with. The heart and soul and gut. Those are the words I use now. Not what's in your head. No,
Mm-hmm.
here and here.
Mm.
I cut to the chase, and I have to say that people are afraid to come into my group, and they tell me that because there are emotions in my group. And if people are not ready for that, they're not warmed up enough for my group. So to know that experiential methods are very powerful, I use them very carefully. I tailor them So it's not about I went to a weekend and now I go do this stuff. You know, I've been studying psychodrama since 1989. So I don't, and I encourage people to find out about experiential methods because since Bessel van der Kolk came out with all of his research, we know that trauma has to be released in the body. And there's also some new stuff out about flow, and I'm looking at that. I totally understand that yet, but what
Hmm.
I'm doing works. What I'm doing works, and so I'm just going to keep doing it. And I know my passion is to keep doing this, and to have somebody say to me, "Thank you." Like without coming here, you know, I've been in therapy for 10 years. I've been to doctors like crazy. And I came here and I had no idea that this was what was going on for me. And
Right.
this is why my nervous system is like this. And I said to her, "This, you're why I wrote my book. Because I didn't want anybody else to suffer the way that I had suffered and thought how crazy I was."
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that, for people and also for the therapists, that it's so important for us to be able to have experience, strength, and hope to share with our clients and to know the appropriate ways to share about ourselves. That's another piece that's in the book. How do I do self-disclosure appropriately?
Hmm.
So I wanted to give therapists specific guidelines and case vignettes that really describe with different types of families, clients, and different cultures, et cetera. Because the last thing I'll say, Guy, is my book is sold internationally at this point because the original book's been on for 8 years now. And I've had people from all over the world. I've consulted with people from all over the world. This is not just a United States of America thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. The book is called Covert Emotional Incest: The Hidden Sexual Abuse, a Story of Hope and Healing. Um, what's the best way for people to get that book? And secondly, how are you working with other therapists, clinicians? What are you offering, etc.?
Okay, so right now I'm in the launch period for my book. The book will be officially launched Friday, May 29th. You can go on Amazon right now or on my website at adenabanklees.com. And you can join my launch team. You can purchase the book. You could go on Amazon right now and purchase the paperback for $9.99. That price will only be on for another week, and then it'll be $19.99. And on May 29th, Friday, you can purchase the ebook or the Kindle version of the book for 99 cents, and that'll be on for a limited amount of time. So if you want to help me get to a #1 bestseller on Amazon, which is, I would love to be able to say that, it would be Friday the 29th that you would purchase that ebook. 99 cents gets you the book. Audible is also, the Audible of the original book is on Amazon, and I will be making an Audible of the updated version sometime in November. So
Oh, wow.
that'll be later.
Okay.
But right now you can get the paperback and the ebook.
Okay. We'll have all those linked up here at the show notes page at the traumatherapistpodcast.com. What if people want to get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you. And I forgot to tell you that what I'm going to be developing after the summer is because I'm going on a bucket list trip for the summer. So I'm taking 5 weeks off and I'm going to South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Ireland to my most favorite nature and being with the animals. So that's called self-care, folks. That's what you do. All right. So I will be creating online courses for therapists. This is what I'm moving into now, is an online business so that I can be mobile and that I can live anywhere I want to in the world. At this point in my life, at 63 years old, I am ready to do that. So in the fall, we'll be creating some online courses on covert emotional incest for therapists. I'll be having consultation groups and consultation sessions for professionals. I'm not going to do
Awesome.
anything for the lay public. I'm referring people now, but I will be doing the
Okay.
training for the therapists. And they can
Okay.
reach me at Adena at adenabanklees.com. You can always call me at 520-404-8466. Right now, I'm in Pacific Standard Time because I'm in Arizona. We never change the clock, so we're equal to California now.
Okay. All right. We'll have all that linked up here at the show notes page at the traumatherapistpodcast.com. Damn, Adena, I love you. I love having you on here. You're welcome back anytime when you get those courses up and running. You
Okay?
can
We'll
talk
do it
about
again.
those. And
Great.
yeah, really appreciate you, and just such an inspiration.
Thank you. Same here, Guy. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right. We'll be in touch. Take care.
Bye bye.